Sometimes the deepest wounds are not caused by strangers. They are caused by the ones who once held our hands. Cruelty does not always shout. Sometimes it smiles, promises love, and then slowly walks away. And one day, it comes back asking for forgiveness. But by then, love has already learned its price. Love never begins with pain. It begins with hope, with soft words, with eyes that promise safety. Two hearts meet believing they will protect each other from the world. In the beginning, love feels gentle, like a warm hand holding yours in the dark. You trust that hand, you believe it will never let go. But sometimes, love changes. Not suddenly, slowly. Cruelty in love rarely arrives loudly. It comes quietly, disguised as jokes that hurt, silence that punishes, and words that cut just deep enough to leave scars. One person keeps loving, forgiving, and waiting, while the other learns how powerful cruelty can be. The cruel one often believes love will stay forever. They think apologies will erase damage, that tears will dry quickly, that hearts heal easily. They forget that love is not blind, it is sensitive. Every harsh word, every ignored feeling, every moment of coldness is remembered by the heart that still loves. The one who suffers does not leave immediately. Love teaches patience. Love teaches endurance. They stay, hoping the person they fell for will return. But pain changes people. Love that is mistreated does not die loudly, it fades quietly. It stops expecting. It stops begging. It starts protecting itself. And then one day, the cruel one feels the silence. They feel the absence of warmth, the missing affection, the distance they once created. Regret arrives too late, because the price of cruelty is not anger, it is indifference. The heart that once cried now stays calm. The love that once fought now rests. Cruelty always has a cost. It costs trust. It costs connection. It costs the kind of love that only comes once, when someone chooses you despite your flaws. Love learns when to walk away, not because it stopped caring, but because it learned its worth. Cruelty has a price, and love always collects it. Love begins with trust long before it begins with words. It starts in the way two people look at each other, believing they have finally found a safe place to rest their hearts. Trust is not demanded, it is offered freely, like an open hand. In love, trust means believing that the other person will be careful with your feelings even when you are not watching, even when emotions rise, even when misunderstandings appear. It is the silent promise that says, "I will not hurt you on purpose." In a love story, trust grows in small moments. It grows when someone listens instead of judging, when secrets are held gently instead of being used as weapons, when vulnerability is met with reassurance instead of laughter. Trust is built when love feels consistent, when words match actions, and when presence feels sincere. Two hearts begin to relax, knowing they are not in danger with each other. But trust is fragile. It does not break all at once. It cracks slowly, a careless word here, an ignored feeling there. Love notices everything. When trust is damaged, love becomes alert. It starts questioning what once felt natural. The heart that once spoke freely begins to hesitate. The smile that once came easily now carries doubt. Love still exists, but it walks more carefully. In love, trust is what allows someone to stay even when things are difficult. It is what makes forgiveness possible and patience meaningful. Without trust, love turns into fear. Every silence feels heavy. Every disagreement feels threatening. The heart begins to wonder if it is safe to stay honest or safer to stay quiet. Trust in love is also about emotional safety. It is knowing that your pain will not be minimized, your tears will not be mocked, and your presence will not be taken for granted. When trust is honored, love flourishes naturally. When trust is neglected, love begins to shrink inward, protecting itself from further harm. A love story shaped by trust feels warm, steady, and alive. It allows two people to grow together without fear of being abandoned emotionally. It gives love the courage to deepen, to reveal its weakest parts, and to believe that care will remain even when perfection fades, when mistakes happen, when reality replaces fantasy, and when love asks for gentleness instead of control. Cruelty in love is rarely obvious. It does not always come as shouting or anger or open rejection. More often, it hides behind silence, distance, and emotional neglect. It appears when affection becomes conditional, when kindness is given one day and withdrawn the next. In love stories, this kind of cruelty confuses the heart more than open hatred ever could. Silent cruelty teaches someone to doubt themselves. When messages go unanswered, when feelings are brushed aside, when pain is met with indifference, love begins to feel invisible. The person who cares starts wondering if they are asking for too much, if their emotions are too heavy, if their presence is no longer welcome. Cruelty does not need harsh words when absence itself becomes a punishment. In love, silence can be louder than insults. A partner who refuses to communicate creates a space filled with fear and uncertainty. The heart searches for answers that never arrive. Apologies are expected without explanation. Pain is left unacknowledged. This kind of cruelty leaves no visible wounds, yet it slowly breaks confidence and self-worth. Emotional cruelty also appears as control disguised as care. One person decides what is acceptable, what is allowed, and what must be sacrificed in the name of love. Boundaries are ignored. Feelings are dismissed as overreactions. Love becomes a place where one heart shrinks to keep the other comfortable. The cruel one may not even recognize their actions as harm, but the damage still settles deeply. Love suffers quietly under silent cruelty. The person being hurt often stays, believing patience will heal everything. They hope warmth will return, that affection will come back if they try harder, love deeper, remain softer. But cruelty teaches love to become cautious. It teaches the heart to hide its needs, to lower its voice, to expect less. Over time, silent cruelty drains love of its joy. Laughter feels forced. Togetherness feels lonely. Love no longer feels like a shared space but like a test that must constantly be passed. The heart learns to survive instead of connect, to endure instead of feel, to protect itself instead of opening fully, and love slowly transforms from a source of comfort into a place of quiet suffering. Love never forgets what it survives. Even when it forgives, even when it chooses to stay, it remembers every moment it had to be strong instead of safe. Scars in love are not always visible. They live in hesitation, in guarded words, in the way someone flinches at a familiar tone. Love carries memory quietly, storing pain not to punish, but to protect. Every harsh sentence leaves a mark. Every broken promise teaches the heart to expect disappointment. When love is wounded, it adapts. It becomes careful with trust, slower to believe, quieter in expression. The heart that once overflowed with emotion learns to measure its feelings, offering only what feels safe to lose. Love does not erase pain just because time passes. In a love story, scars shape behavior. A person may still smile, still care, still remain loyal, yet something within them has changed. They may stop sharing dreams, stop asking questions, stop reaching first. Love is present, but it is no longer fearless. It has learned that openness can be dangerous when cruelty follows vulnerability. Scars also create silence, not the peaceful kind, but the kind filled with unspoken thoughts. Love remembers the times it spoke honestly and was ignored, the moments it cried and received no comfort. Those memories settle into the heart, reminding it to stay guarded. Love becomes selective with its truth, revealing only what cannot be used against it. Even gentle moments carry echoes of past pain. A delayed reply can reopen old wounds. A cold tone can revive forgotten fears. Love reacts not only to the present, but to everything it has endured before. These scars do not mean love is weak. They mean love has been tested. When cruelty repeats, scars deepen. Each time love forgives without healing, the wound grows heavier. The heart grows tired of hoping, tired of believing promises that dissolve, tired of waiting for change that never comes. Love begins to protect itself not by leaving, but by feeling less. Scars are proof that love gave more than it should have. They tell a story of patience, endurance, and emotional sacrifice. Love remembers every tear it hid, every moment it chose peace over truth, every time it stayed silent to avoid conflict. These memories do not fade easily. They shape how love breathes, how it responds, how it prepares for loss even while standing inside affection, and how it slowly learns that survival sometimes replaces passion when pain becomes familiar. Cruelty rarely feels powerful in the moment. It often feels justified, unnoticed, or temporary. In love, the one who causes pain usually believes the other will always stay, always forgive, always understand. They assume love is endless and patient, forgetting that even the strongest hearts have limits. Cruelty feels safe when consequences are distant. At first, nothing seems to change. The person who is hurt still answers calls, still waits, still hopes. Love continues to show up, even when it is wounded. This false sense of security convinces the cruel one that their behavior has no cost. They believe silence will be tolerated, harsh words will be forgotten, and distance will be healed with time. But love keeps count, not in anger, but in exhaustion. Slowly, the energy to explain disappears. The effort to fix everything alone fades. The heart that once fought to save the relationship begins to grow quiet. Cruelty teaches love how to detach without leaving. The person who caused the pain does not notice this shift at first because it happens internally. Regret enters softly. It arrives when warmth is replaced with politeness. When affection feels routine instead of genuine. When conversations lose depth and laughter feels rare. The cruel one starts to feel the absence of something they never valued while it was present. They sense distance but cannot understand where it came from. Eventually, cruelty faces its reflection. The coldness once given returns in equal measure. The silence once used as control becomes permanent. The apologies now spoken sound hollow to a heart that has already healed itself alone. Regret becomes heavy because it comes with realization, and realization comes when change no longer matters. Cruelty always returns with regret because love does not disappear suddenly. It withdraws gradually. By the time the cruel one wants to repair what was broken, love has already learned how to live without warmth. The price of cruelty is not rejection, but emotional absence. It is being close to someone who no longer feels close. It is realizing that love once begged to be treated gently and now no longer asks for anything. Regret cannot undo emotional damage. It can only reveal it. Cruelty teaches love to move on internally long before it moves on physically. When regret finally arrives, it finds an empty space where devotion once lived, a quiet distance where passion once burned, and a heart that has already paid the cost of staying too long in a place that hurt it repeatedly. True love does not walk away at the first sign of difficulty. It stays, it tries, it hopes, and it believes in change. Love gives chances because it sees potential, not perfection. It waits through confusion, forgives mistakes, and holds on even when holding hurts. Walking away is never the first choice of a heart that truly loves. But there comes a moment when love understands something painful. Staying is no longer loyalty, it is self-betrayal. Love realizes that enduring cruelty does not make it stronger, only smaller. True love begins to see that its purpose is not to suffer endlessly but to exist in safety, dignity, and mutual care. Walking away is not an act of anger. It is an act of clarity. Love leaves when its voice has been ignored for too long, when its tears have been dismissed too often, when its presence has been taken for granted. This decision is quiet, heavy, and deeply emotional. Love does not announce its departure loudly. It withdraws slowly, gathering the pieces of itself that were scattered by pain. In love stories, walking away often looks like giving up from the outside. But from within, it feels like survival. It is choosing peace over chaos, respect over attachment, and self-worth over familiarity. Love finally understands that being alone is less painful than being constantly hurt by someone who refuses to change. True love learns that leaving does not erase the memories. The shared moments, the laughter, the promises remain part of the heart's history. Walking away means accepting that those memories do not justify ongoing pain. Love honors what was real without sacrificing what still deserves protection. There is courage in letting go of someone you once wanted forever with. Love grieves not only the person, but the future it imagined. It mourns the version of the relationship it hoped would exist. Yet within that grief, love regains its strength. It begins to breathe again without fear of being wounded. Walking away teaches love its own value. It learns that affection should not require self-abandonment. Love realizes that it deserves gentleness, consistency, and care. When love finally turns its back, it does so with wisdom earned through pain. It leaves not because it stopped loving, but because it finally started loving itself enough to choose healing over hurt.